Welcome back, guys, to another reaction video. So I had the idea to start a reoccurring segment that I want to call Machine Drum Mondays. And with this segment, I intend to look at drummers that display characteristics that show that they could be part cyborg in terms of how fast they're able to move around the kit. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to be exclusive to metal drummers. Drummers in any genre that display just ridiculous amounts of speed and finesse around the kit can qualify for this segment. So, to start off the first episode of this, I wanted to take a look at the drummer George Kollias, most famously the drummer for Nile. And George has this ability to make speed and fluidity around the kit look absolutely masterful as well as effortless. The video that I wanted to check out today is a drum show that he did in the United Kingdom in 2017. So I am going to periodically pause the video at certain points and give my thoughts and insights on what he's doing in his performance. It's like Vic Firth is a sponsor. So we got some, okay, already having to take a quick second to stop. One of the things about George is how he has truly mastered the swivel foot technique. Depending on who you talk to, this technique can be explained in a few different ways. There are some drummers that say the swivel essentially is a motion where each time you pivot your foot, you're applying pressure to the pedal, causing the beater to go down. Then there are some drummers that say that the swivel is just a byproduct of your body attempting to do a motion very quickly, and what you get is an involuntary horizontal motion. Admittedly enough, that happens in my playing sometimes. And then you've got other drummers that say that the swivel foot is just a means to apply pressure to the pedals, but it's not necessarily a focused and concentrated movement. Like, okay, if your foot swivels to the left, then that's a downstroke, and then if it swivels to the right, that's an upstroke. You know, some drummers don't have it broken down like that. With George, it seems to me that he uses the swivel as a way to kind of keep loose, but at the same time while applying pressure to the pedals. And it's possible that he is using the swivel of his feet as a way to keep time with his strokes. That way he doesn't necessarily need to feel the beater hit the batter head to know that, okay, that's a solid stroke against the bass drum. Anyway, I could be wrong, but that's just kind of what my immediate theory is just by looking at him. Looks like he's playing with Axis pedals also. Of course, Sabian cymbals. While this isn't necessarily exceptionally fast, what I can appreciate about what's happening in the song here is how there is there's a transition from the the faster strokes that he's playing to this more subdued kind of almost halftime feel with the song. And that transition, you see how he can go from the swivel foot technique to now he's doing what looks primarily to be heel up. And to be able to transition from, okay, my body needs to do this in order to play these strokes this quick, to, oh, we got to slow down and now I got to transition to this technique to do this, is pretty difficult to do. And it takes a lot of practice to be able to get that mind, body, muscle memory connection firing off right when it needs to. Not to mention mid-tempo speeds like, let's say 130 to, let's say maybe 170 BPM are tricky to pull off with using techniques like your ankle techniques. Any technique where you're using smaller muscle groups at slower tempos takes a lot more focus and control to pull off. I like how George, he also looks like he's hitting another plane of existence when he's playing. Yeah, these transitions are not easy to do. And now we're back to the full-time feel. And another transition going into the triplet feel. Also, George is a big user of the traditional blast beat. And I mean, like, I don't think I've ever seen him do a traditional blast beat with both his feet, unless he was doing like a hammer blast or something like that. Typically, he's a 1 foot blast guy all the way. This song has had like 3 or 4 different changes in it already. So another little sidebar about the swivel foot technique from my own personal experience. For a while, I did give it a go with trying to establish it as a technique that I would implement. And I was running into issues where I felt like I was trying to force it too much. And what was happening was my knees ended up talking to me and letting me know that, okay, nah, this ain't it, Chief. I suffered an injury to my knees when I was in the service, and every now and then I'll run into an issue where I get reminded of that. So I have to be really mindful of what I'm doing as far as bass drum techniques, which is why I haven't like really decided to, okay, I want to master the swivel technique and things of that nature. Although I do get a little bit of involuntary swivel for certain parts of my playing anyway. It's not enough where I'm like keeping it up for, 4 bars, 8 bars, 16 bars of double bass playing. was also taking a look inside his bass drums, and there's very little in terms of dampening material inside his bass drum. Those pads that are inside of it, I think those are actual like bass drum dampening pads. And obviously, the more dampening that you have in there, the more of a dead thud you'll get from your bass drums. There's not a whole lot going on inside of his, so he's getting probably a fair amount of boom. Now, these pads that you can buy specifically for dampening the sound of your bass drum, I don't know if they claim to be able to follow the saying of less is more, so to speak. So it could be that his bass drums are much more dampened sonically than what it's hard to tell, like hearing it through the mic, because the microphone and the audio engineering is going to do certain things to the sound of your kit that when you hear it live, you wouldn't be able to catch. But, a big boomy bass drum at the speeds that George typically plays at is pretty interesting, unless you use triggers. But I'll get more on triggering and stuff like that a little bit later. I knew he was going to ramp it back up. Well, as usual, a masterful performance by George. Before I close out the video, I want to touch back on triggers again real quick. Usually, triggers come into play when you're dealing with songs that are at much faster tempos and have 16th note double bass patterns in them, because the triggers, you can apply a sample of some sort to like a MIDI sample, usually in the term of a click. And when you do that, you can play very fast 16th note rolls, and you're able to more easily differentiate between the notes of the bass drum, so it doesn't just sound like a wall of bass, which has an application sonically in some places, but in some musical applications, you need to be able to at least be able to make out each of the bass drum hits individually. I remember saying on like drumming forums and in comments on other videos, like, oh, well, he's using triggers, so that's why he's able to play so fast. And that's the most ignorant statement ever, because triggers do not do anything to increase your speed. Oh, well, you don't have to hit the bass drum as hard to get a note. That is true. However, with triggers, you need to be even more precise and more accurate with your playing, because it's easier to hear if you make mistakes or if it's not accurate and consistent. Just my 2 cents on triggers. I think they're great, and to be able to apply a sample to your bass drum really can enhance like your overall audio mix with the drums, because acoustically, drums are very tough to mix and to EQ because there's so many different things that go into that. However, the audio engineering behind drums is out of the scope of this video, so we'll have to explore that subject another time. If you got to the end of this video, I salute you and thank you so much. One last thing before I go. I recently got some sort of like the super thanks thing going for YouTube. I got notified that I was eligible for it. So normally with that type of thing, I don't even feel like I should even bring it up, but I guess just to bring awareness to it, if anybody was to support me directly there, that would go directly into things like better gear. I would like to get another camera. That way I can have more multi-shot angles going on when I'm playing. Anything there would go directly into supporting, the videos that I do and allowing me to be able to bring better content, because that's ultimately what I want, is to provide better videos for you all. That way we can have things to sit and talk about and discuss. So just putting it out there. All right, that's enough rambling. I appreciate you guys checking out the video, and if you want me to continue this segment, Machine Drum Mondays, please let me know. I'm also open to suggestions for other drummers too, as usual, so please let me know. All right, you guys take care. I'll catch you on the next video.